Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? In this particular video, we are starting a brand new process. We're going to try a different style of video, a different style of training video. We appreciate your comments, anything you think that we can do better, and that's what we're going to try and do. Now, we're going to be talking about demystifying the input routing for the Behringer WING. We're going to be using the latest firmware version. It's the 3.0.4, I believe. And over here on the right, I have X32 Edit opened, because what I also want to do is for our members that use the X and M32 mixers, if you will set your routing up like I'm going to show you, then you can follow along with any training video that I do concerning user in and user out routing that you use in this software. User in, user out. That's what we're going to call it because that's what the software calls it. The first thing we're going to do is take all of your inputs, regardless of where they're at, regardless if you're just using the rack and you don't have a stage box, it doesn't matter. It all comes right over here to user in. Okay? Now, the only other change we're going to make is we're going to come to the card and we're going to do where it says local all the way over, user in. We want our card to follow whatever we tell our inputs to record. So that's all you've got to do is take your card and move it over, take your inputs and move them over to user in, and then everything is going to go off of this right here. Now, if you look at our example over here, I've got kick coming into channel 1. And if you look over here on the right, it says USB 9. So this is actually playing in Reaper from my DAW. So when you go over to your routing now, under your where you would normally go to inputs, go to your user in, go over to your card, and look what happens when we go to input number 9. I apologize, come over 1. So if it's number 9, that's what it is, card number 9, coming into your input number 1. From this point forward, that is now referred to as a destination. Your inputs are now destinations. The audio that's going to supply those destinations now becomes your source. So input number 1 is our destination. Card number 9 is our source. And there it is. I've just done the exact same thing now that we've done over here using the Wing Edit software. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and bring up Wing Edit. Go back, pause this video if you want to follow along. Just do exactly what I've done. And as we go through here and we start laying this out and explaining it, if you've got your DAW connected and you've got audio playing to your mixer, you should see the same results that I am. Okay? Stay tuned. Okay, so what is all this confusion or talk about this routing with the Wing? And I don't think that that's fair. I think that what has happened is the firmware has been updated and advanced at a pace that simply has outgrown what's up there on the internet right now. So people are looking at this information that was absolutely 100% dead on at that particular version. And that's why we're going to go up here and we're going to look and we're going to see exactly what we've got set up here so you know how up to date that this video is that you're watching. So what we're going to do is we're going to come right up here and we're going to check our connection. And this is going to show us exactly what we're running. Now here on my Wing Rack, I'm running version 3.0.4.0. And on the actual Wing Edit, I'm running version 3.0. Okay? So all this information is right here at your disposal. You check it, make sure that this is lining up because, guys, 2 months from now, it could be version 3.1.6. And I have no complaints whatsoever. I absolutely love this beast of a mixer. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's go look at this routing. The first thing that we're going to realize is they are no longer inputs. They are sources and destinations. Replace channels or tracks with destinations, and your source is going to be what feeds that destination. Now up here, when we get to our routing, you'll see we have two options up here. There is our output. We're going to be dealing with input, so we want to make sure that we have this selected here. This is our source group. We have our sources, we have our destinations. So out of these input sources, because we are on the input side of the routing tab, we have our local ends, our auxiliary ends, which we do not have with the rack. We have the AES EBU in, the oscillator. We have all three AES 50 ports. We have the stage connect. As you can see, I've got USB audio selected. Now in Reaper, I simply have some tracks running, and I've got it looped. And if you run some audio into your mixer, and you have the opportunity where you can connect to it, you'll see these meters come to life. And you'll see all this stuff start to show up. And then that's where the magic happens. Okay? So just like the scenario says, if we want, for whatever reason, let's say that we want to go to channel 40. There's no signal there. We're not going to use that. So let's go to channel 40 on our board, right here. And now let's select our input signal. And let's say that it's a kick track. And we select this right here as our input. And that didn't work. And this is another thing I'm going to do. I'm going to stop editing out my mistakes. I'm learning this as well as we go along. And I've got to this point right here by simply doing repetition. I do this every day. I set it up. I make myself go up and start a show, do a show, create a scene, whatever, just so I can get used to this software. So here we go to channel 40. Right here. Anytime you click that, you're going to come to the channel. There's the input. Now I can come over here and tell this input, I want that click track is going to be in my DAW, which is Reaper, on track number 6. And when I click it, it comes to life. Now that is my click track. In X32 Edit, you would go up there and take your click track out of your mains by going up to main and then taking it out of your stereo. Here, we simply click on M1. This is all sends on fader, all of it. It's automatic now. You have to remember in X32 Edit with the X and M32 mixers, Behringer gave you the option of using that user in and user out with version 4.0 and above. With the Wing, you have no option. This is exactly what you're dealing with. The user in, user out option that the X and M32 mixers use. And I want you to try and kind of, comprehend this because, again, all we've done is went to channel 40 and told it our input was going to come from our DAW, which is the USB. So here on the main now, we simply turn it off. We are no longer running this track through the main. We come up, we click out of sends on fader. We come back up and click on 40. Now check this out. Name, color, and icon. You can name these right here on your inputs, and they're going to show up on the destination. It don't matter what we give it. Yellow and close. You see? So channel 40 has now been named click from the input source. If we go to channel 2 and we say, okay, now we want to bring in something from our AES port, and we're going to be on AES-A. So when I click on this, I'm going to rename it, and I know that this is going to be the first input of my first S16. As you can see, channel 2 now, if I click up here, name and color. So now that's coming in A1. So now, guys, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sound bullet, a very useful piece of gear for this. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to plug it into input 1 on my first S16. And there we go. There's my signal. Now, if we go back to this, you'll see it named, and you'll see my signal coming in. If I take it out, the signal goes away. So I'm going to leave this on for a second, and we're just going to do this again. We're going to go to any channel. Okay, we've got 24 inputs that we can use for our locals. Once we click onto this, you'll see where it goes, because it's telling you you've got to be connected to a stage box or some other type of inputs. So we're going to say on 25 here, we're going to bring it up and we're going to use input 17, which I know is the first input on my second S16. So I'm going to say that we want this to come, and what this does, this also allows me to check, even though I can see the green LEDs with the connections on these stage boxes, it's still just real nice to see that signal coming in. So if I come to channel 17, there it is. If I come over to channel 32, there it is. You see, it doesn't matter what channel I come into, what input. As you see them popping up there, I'm just going in between stage box to stage box. So a real handy piece of gear, makes it real easy to do, which brings me to my next point that I want to make here. Mixing Station Pro. Even Behringer recommends using Mixing Station Pro. They're still developing the Wing Pilot. I tried it. I don't like it. Nobody likes it. Even Behringer doesn't like it. They know nobody likes it. Okay? And at this time, as far as we know, they're still trying to get everything put together with this. But until then, Mixing Station Pro, right out of the box. You don't have to customize anything. Okay? So I just wanted to throw that in there. Getting back to what we're talking about now. So any channel that we look at, that is our destination. Our source is a group. And we have all these groups to choose from. For whatever reason, if you wanted to bring your mains back in to channel 3, if I bring this up, you see that signal coming in now? There it is. You see that signal go in stereo? Because it's pulled both of those in stereo. Because it's the main left and right output, bus, whatever you want to refer to it as. As far as your customization, it's simple. All you've got to do is decide when you lay out your shows what stage boxes are going to be where, and literally just start labeling your stage boxes, which will now transfer over to your channel strips, and you're done. So if we go back to this channel and go here, and let's say for whatever reason that you want to use your Stage Connect, well, you've got 32 channels there, it's showing you. So you've got 32 channels you can work with. If you're using your Stage Connect and you want to bring that in on your first, there it is. Here, as you can see, you can bring it in on mono, stereo. You'll see the symbol right there change, right here. Go back to mono. It's only one circle. And then you've got your side mixing option here. Okay? So to kind of sum it up here, guys, the logic I'm trying to use here was taking me a little over 15 minutes to show you in a video. If you practice this and you do this, you can set these snapshots up rather quickly. I'm talking 2-3 minutes at the most. We're going to go through that just real fast. Just give me one more minute. We're going to initialize the console. We're going to say all, and we're going to do it. And there we go. So if I come up here to channel 1 and I click here, if I decide that I want to use all 16 of these for local, then I'm pretty well going to leave this alone. I'm going to come down to 17 now. So on 17, I decide that I want to pull my input, not from the local, that my source for this destination is going to be AES50A, my first XLR input. So when I click this and I turn on the sound bullet and I put it into that port, as you can see, it instantly is going to give us signal. So we know that that right there is correct. And again, if we wanted to go over and do channel 18, as you can see, I have not left this screen. Then I can pick AES2, which is my second input. But I'm not. I'm going to pick 16 because that is my last input on my first S16. And there we go. So now we've got those two channels assigned to our AES port. If we come over to 19 now, I can say, okay, I want to pull this as my click track. So I've got some tracks running in Reaper. So I say, okay, I'm going to assign this channel as my click track. So that's channel 19. Channel 20, we want to pull something from our first track of our USB recorder. So we're going to make that channel 20. Now channel 21, we're going to make that the fourth track of our 4-track USB recorder. As you can see, right there it is. Play number 4. 22, we want to bring in the oscillator. We want to set a test tone up so we can shoot it to our mix buses so we can check our outputs on stage. So we say we're going to use oscillator number 1. There it is. Now, don't be like me. Don't spend 45 minutes trying to figure out how to turn this oscillator off. All you got to do is have it highlighted. Click none. Okay? So again, it doesn't matter what we go to. We're going to select our source group. If I, for whatever reason, wanted to bring the signal from the main PA back into this, that's where it's going to go. As you can see, it's number 1, so it's going to be the left input. If I raise this up and I raise the main up over here, you're going to watch signal come in there. Watch what happens on this test tone now. You see why I want that test tone? See how it's putting signal to my left and right? And I look at 23. Look where it's at. I'm now bringing that main signal back in to channel 23. Whatever you want to do, you can do. You can bring your mix bus back in here. You can bring your matrix back in here. And they've also given you your user patches to where you can go through and you can start customizing these. That make them your own. Now, I don't have any cards in for my expansion card, or it would be lighted up. We could come over here, bring it in from the Stage Connect. We got something plugged into channel 32 or signal 32. There it is. There's our input signal. Guys, it's just that simple. Now all we have to do is go back and whichever method you choose, and that is to start labeling your scribble strip. And then, of course, saving your snapshot through this entire process. Now let's get over to the X&M32 edit and do this exact same process. So here we are, we go up in the routing, we've got our input set over to user in, our card is set over here to user in, everything else is default, we go over to user in, we want our first 3 channels to come in local. As you can see, they're already laid out here. Now the 4th channel, we want the first input of our first S16. And we know that S16 goes up to 16 channels. So it's got 16 inputs. That is the end right there of our first S16. If we wanted to jump to our first input of our second S16, it would be here, AESA 17. Remember, we stopped right here at 16. If we wanted to come over now for any reason and pull our click track in from our DAW, look at the channels we have available here. We can pick any of these that we want from our card. Now remember, we saw that we had input coming in on card 5. There it is. That will now be your click track coming in from your DAW. You see, guys, you lay it out the same way. But what you have to do is you have to map it out, and the easiest way is to do that on paper. Then look at it, line up, and connect the dots from your source of the signal to where you want it to wind up on your channel strip, which is your destination. All right, guys, I appreciate you watching. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what you want other videos on. Let me know how I can improve them. Okay? Take care. God bless. And we are out of here.